Geraldine and QUIROZ.
Hi, I'm John Cyrus Elke.
Hi, I'm MYLENE.
Hi, I'm Jane ZYRA SIOCHI.
Hello, I'm LYCCA GUZMAN.
Hi, I'm CARLA JALOBER.
Hi, I'm Kyle P. Florentino, and we will present the narratives of 3 non-Filipino teachers about their experiences in teaching. Soliswa is a female teacher who has been teaching for 21 years. She teaches mathematics and computer science at a township school in the Western Cape located in one of the provinces of South Africa. Soliswa recalled the apartheid policy being felt by the non-whites when she was a student. Apartheid system created inequalities to the black South African schools, promoting racism and extreme discrimination to the non-whites. In the side of the teachers, they didn't have the time to include students in the teaching-learning process. This signifies that her teachers used to implement rote learning approach in their class. Rote learning approach didn't help her at her studies as she didn't understand the lessons and she didn't know how to solve any problems.
Rote learning also emphasizes the role of the teacher in the classroom. They are the only supplier of information and they often exclude students to the teaching-learning process.
The classroom environment lacks of enthusiasm, cognizance, and discipline. Rote learning approach was prominent when she was a learner. Students have learned the lessons without actually understanding it, and teaching became solely by the book and always sticking on the given information. When she started teaching, she implemented the same teaching method that her mathematics lecturer had used. She recalled that her mathematics lecturer influenced her the most in her teaching career. Outcomes-based education promotes the authentic learning of the students, which signifies learning on their own. It also rejects the traditional way of teaching, which teacher would be the main source of knowledge.
In her classroom, Soliswa will introduce a topic and she will let her students to solve the problems given. She serves as a facilitator to the teaching-learning process. It helped her students to gain confidence, independency, and self-directedness.
Soliswa also cited the use of transformational learning in her teaching career. According to her, learning is understood as the process of using a prior interpretation to construe a new or revised interpretation of the meaning of one's experience in order to guide future action. Transformational learning goes beyond simple acquisition of knowledge. Such approaches being applied to the classroom setting, Soliswa's discussion become more student-centered and constructive. Soliswa promotes the self-directedness in her students, which is the main purpose of constructive learning and outcomes-based education. Soliswa's experiences in teaching as a student are different from her experiences of teaching as a teacher. Through her narrative, these are the following difficulties and problems that she had encountered. Number 1. Teachers using rote learning approach in the classroom. Number 2. Lack of available resources, learning materials, and facilities. Number 3. Students' laziness and lack of motivation to study. Number 4. Teachers that are not well equipped to deal with the new curriculum. And number 5, Department of Education's evaluation in curriculum implementation.
Soliswa's past experiences as a student helped her to avoid committing the same mistake her teacher did to them as students. Rote learning is being applied in the classroom settings prohibits creative and critical thinkings of the student. It also excludes the student in the educative process, which violate the main purpose of the student-centeredness approach in the classroom. The experiences that she had encountered in her math lectures help her to construct her teaching approach when she become a teacher. Outcome-based education and constructivist approach is interconnected to each other. Students are expected to create or formulate based on the knowledge that they have acquired during the process of teaching. It also promotes student-centeredness and self-directed learning, putting an emphasis to the role of the student in the classroom settings. Soliswa's effectiveness in teaching reflects on how she chooses her teaching approaches. Some of the remarks are: students learn to work collaboratively, students learn to solve in their own, students learn on how to present solutions to the problems, and many more. Students also learn on how to be confident and have their self-esteem when studying. Soliswa emphasized the mastery of the topic and the subject matter in the curriculum is the responsibility of the teacher. Her acquired experiences are a vision to her to be a better teacher with equipped knowledge to transmit information to her students that use various methods, techniques, and strategies to deliver quality learning in every learner. The teachers need to unleash difficulty in comprehending the lesson in the subject by improving knowledge and being ahead to the student information. The teachers need to be equipped with abilities and skills to adapt to the new curriculum implemented by the government. The teachers failing to adjust to the new curriculum remain the obstacles of having successful students. Through Soliswa's experiences as a student and as a teacher, she had encountered several problems that concern to the educative process. Problem in the teaching approach of the old and traditional teachers are the main problem why students didn't learn effectively. Teachers is responsible for implementing the curriculum. It means the teacher should deliver all the content of the curriculum using varied instructional strategies, teaching approaches, learning instructional materials, and assessment methods. Soliswa observed that there are teachers who didn't master the implementation of the curriculum. She added that this is the role of the Department of Education to address this issue. The Department of Education needs to monitor and implement strong measures to ensure that the new curriculum was currently implemented and excellently applied by the teacher, and another higher position in the school are doing their best to implement the new curriculum in the school.
Hi, I'm SYRROS LK, and now let's proceed to Lorato's narrative result and interpretations. Participant personal profile. Lorato is a female teacher who has been in teaching service for 38 years. She was teaching at her school for learners with special needs, which is located in one of the provinces in South Africa. Participant experiences as a student. Lorato recalled experiences in her school. An 11 years old in a class of grade 1 is not all strange. In her journey as a student, she recalled that she was praised and commended by his teachers because she was doing great in mental arithmetic. The motivation and great words that coming from her teachers gives her inspirations and to do great and always exert effort all the time. On the next grade, the teacher's method is teacher-centeredness approach. It is easy to her teachers to achieve desired goals since the teaching learning process become passive. The teachers standing in front of the class and the learners would sit and just answering the questions of the teacher. In the next grade, they started to use books and pencils for the first time. In grade 6, she emphasized for the first time that she's having a male teacher who loved music as she described it. In the next grade, another battle she experienced. It is more complex because there is more numbers of subjects and the subjects are more difficult than her previous subjects. She is struggling in the subject of English because she was using her mother tongue, which is Setswana, and she knew that she was not good in speaking English language. The corporal punishment was implemented as she recalled. It is punishing the students because of committing mistakes. Based on the research study, the corporal punishment is a good form of disciplinary action for the students because students learn quickly when they feel pain for transgressions. She added that there was a time when the teacher using corporal punishment if the learners gave the wrong answer for the arithmetic. She didn't tell to her parents because she got whipped by her teachers because of the chances that she might get whipped again by her parents. During her college days, Lerato finds that teaching and learning method was completely different and difficult, but it improves the way she learns. She had a lot of attending class discussions, and her college journey she expressed herself freely. Participant experiences in teaching. As she finished her college degree, she realized that she really had a passion for teaching. When she's working with her colleagues, she learned from them. As she faced the reality in teaching a class, she felt scared and nervous to think she taught with more than 50 students. She's not able to cope up with this. Surprisingly, everything went well. Maybe she surpassed the beginning for her in teaching. She remembered also her first day of teaching. She reminisced everything and she opened herself that her style in teaching was different when she was a learner. The point of view in this, when she was a learner, her learning or teaching style is not the same when she was teaching. She pointed out that she didn't agree with the new method because she wanted to do the same old style when she was a learner. The old drill method. She preferred this because she was practicing things like sentences structure, step by step. There is a guide of teachers that will help the student to be clear in all difficulties. As the time goes by, Lerato began to teach at a school of learners with special educational needs. This one is very difficult and needs a lot of compassion and considerations, but as she mentioned, she needs a lot of patience to work with the learners with disabilities as well as cooperation to all parents. Difficulties and problems encountered. Some of Lerato's experiences influenced her style in teaching. She specified the problems that she had encountered when she was a student and when she was teaching. Number 1. There is a language barrier. The teachers uses English language in the subject of English. She struggled because she usually used their mother tongue, Setswana. Number 2. The teachers are using corporal punishment as a form of disciplinary action to the student who committed mistakes in school. Number 3. The use of drill method. Number 4. Lerato can cope up with another strategy for teaching.
The experience of Lerato when she was a student is inspiring and motivating. The teachers were very appreciative to her output as she was always commended for giving her best and putting a lot of efforts in doing activities. Her experience and the action of her teacher toward her performance reflect the way she teaches today, that her patience and appreciative attitude are coming from her past experience. When she was a student, the old drill method is systematic repetition of concept, example and practice problems. This method is not capable anymore for the needs of the society now, but Lerato believes that it was perfect method to teach the student. Sometimes, she said that even she was a teacher, she preferred the old drill. Lerato finds the corporal punishment traumatizing and abusive. Her experience when she was a student in the corporal punishment was quite not good. A student will be traumatized and will have a fear of going to school. Lerato, being a teacher for students with special education needs, didn't apply this punishment method because of the harm of instilling fear to her student. Lerato really values the education. She meant it when she said that the education is the key to success, and it is important to know your history. Educational system like institution, agencies, and other learning center facilities are one of the big help to the acquisition of knowledge, values, and skills. Changes, development, and growth are important because it leads to the fulfillment of a person. The way she teaches seems to be a problem of some teachers too because of the features and characteristics of traditional method. The problems encountered in her narrative are quite challenging. Lerato must cope up with another method of teaching since all dual method is traditional, obsolete, and often produce poor result to the student learning process.
Rashid's narrative results in interpretation. Participant's personal profile. For Rashid, he is a teacher who has been teaching for 10 years. He teaches language in an urban school in KwaZulu-Natal, a province in South Africa. For his experiences as a student, Rashid's recalled that in his early years in studying, good learning is evident because most of the time, they just sitting in their classroom listening to their teacher's discussion, especially during math lecture. Their class starts with the oral reading of multiplication table. They recite it through drill method, wherein the teacher says first, then after that they will repeat it. Their class was only memorizing of information based on higher order thinking skills is not practiced, and they do not learn how to think, analyze, or solve problems. During his years in college, he experienced best because most of his lecturers were brilliant and showed them how to put theory into practice. One of the most valuable lessons Rashid learned in college was that each student learn in a unique way, and a teacher must adapt his or her teaching style to accommodate this variation. At his final year at college, outcome-based education was practiced. OBE is a learning structure that allows students to develop their own knowledge and skills by participating in activities that the teachers have. It renounces the traditional focus on what the school offers to pupils in favor of requiring the learners to demonstrate what they know and can do, whatever the needed outputs are. For participants' experiences in teaching, when Rashid first began teaching, he implemented distinct teaching practices that he obtained from his final year in college. To accommodate the various learners, Rashid realized that he needed to use a range of intelligences, such as verbal linguistic, mathematical logical, musical teaching, and learning styles, as well as different assessment methods. He considered the theory of multiple intelligence proposed by the Harvard psychologist Howard Gardner that suggested that everybody has a variety of learning styles. He also added that in order to cater the diversity of his learner, he has to deviate from the learning guidelines. As a result of it, his lesson plan become more detailed. Rashid also mentioned that sometimes he is more activities to attain and to accommodate his weaker students. He also cited that the use of cooperative learning wherein the class is divided into so small groups so that they can discover a new concept together and help each other to learn. For him, it builds the learner's self-esteem as well as the social skills.
So let's proceed to Rashid's narrative discussion. Rashid has been teaching for almost 10 years, and he is currently a language teacher at an urban school in KwaZulu-Natal. He discovered in college that each learner learns differently, and that teacher must employ a variety of teaching and learning style as well as assessment method in order to accommodate the individual's differences. He incorporated cooperative learning because he believed that it produced learners' self-esteem, better social skills, less stereotyping of other races, and comprehension skills. Rashids believed that learning should be learner-centered, but that learners needed good guidance from teacher to do things like listen to teacher's questions, and suggest way for them to discover the answer for themselves as learners. He also believed that the learner should be encouraged to take responsibility for their own learning.
Through their narratives, teachers critically reflected in their past, which enabled them to grow from those experiences. The researchers were able to attain the participant untold experiences in teaching, from the time they were students to the time they were teaching. The researchers also determined that their experiences as a student didn't reflect the way they are teaching today. It only signified that their past experiences didn't influence their teaching habits. Therefore, the researchers conclude participant number 1 proves that not all experiences will determine what you would become in your future. She also added that the rote learning will obviously deteriorate the teaching learning process. Participant number 1 teaching experiences as a teachers become meaningful as she reflected and take actions to the problem that she had encountered during the days and she was still studying. Participant number 1 as a teacher shows how teachers should be teaching. She served a role model and an epitome of success for inspiring teachers. Participant number 2. Her experiences and actions of her teachers towards to her performance reflects the way she teaches today. That her patience and her appreciative attitudes are coming from her experiences when she was a student. Participant number 3 also experienced a rote learning so that when he was starting in teaching and making a lesson plan, he makes sure that she gave concrete activities for his students, and he makes sure that all of his students will learn because based on his experiences when he was a student, he will just memorize the information based on the repetition. Thus, all the participants of the teachers had different experiences, and all of them are different because they are brave enough to face every challenges that they had encountered. They use their difficulties and challenges in order to be a good teacher and a role model to young students, for all their goals and objectives were to make every student success in their future life.
Department of Education should focus on their plans in improving the mastery of the teacher to the subject matter, the mastery of the teacher into using different strategies and approaches, and the mastery of the teacher to the new curriculum. Department of Education should conduct lecture series and discussions provided by the well-known experts and professional in the fields of study. Aside from that, they should encourage teachers to participate on the in-service training program for dry run testing of the new curriculum, to assess their experiences and problems that they will encounter during the implementation of the said curriculum. In that way, they can improve the teacher's performance in the new curriculum.
The government needs to give more funds to the Department of Education and also consider increasing the allocation of funds of education every year so that it can be used to produce learning materials and facilities for the teachers and the students. The availability of learning resources, learning materials, and facilities are essential for the teaching and learning process. Also, they need to set a standard to be followed by the school in building their facilities and selecting learning resources and materials. Then, they can make goals to be done and assess at the end of the year if they meet the expected outcomes of the numbers of the facilities and learning materials to be constructed in the country. Next, the local government monitor if the school are used the given fund for the facilities and learning materials. Lastly, the improvements for the learning materials and facilities are resolved for better teaching of the teachers and learning of the student, so that the society can have individuals with equipped knowledge and skills. Policy title: Annually increase the grant budget for the Department of Education. Objective: to increase the allocated funds for the Department of Education yearly for the additional construction of the learning materials, facilities, and learning resources for the teaching and learning process. Methods: the government annually increases the allocated budget for the Department of Education to build additional facilities in the different places of the country for the on-hand activities of the teachers and the students. Target audience: the focus of this policy is the government officials.
Teachers makes difference. The success of any plan for improving educational outcomes depends on the teachers who carry it out and thus on the abilities of those attracted to the fields of their preparation. Yet, there are many questions about how teachers are being prepared and how they ought to be prepared. Yet, teachers' preparation is often treated as an afterthought in the discussions of improving the public education system. Some of the teachers are sticking to the old methods of teaching so that they can meet the best learning outcome of their students. All the teachers must sign and join to the webinars entitled "The Teachers Are Not Stagnant, Coping with Relevant and Useful Method of Teaching." To develop and enhance the way of teaching of the teachers and also to reduce the poor learning outcome, it will start to the teachers to produce the best learning outcomes. The objective of these webinars is the teaching method must connect to the new curriculum. They must gain the effectiveness of the new method of teachings. The methods, the webinars are one-day process. It consists of part 1 and part 2, morning and afternoon sessions. The speaker will introduce the new methods of teaching that are fit to our new curriculum. They will discuss about the effectiveness and outcome of the new method in teaching. Our target audience, it will focus to all students in any year level. So, what are you waiting for? All teachers are invited. Thank you.
Program title: Implementation of the Mother Tongue as a Medium of Instruction. Objective: to address to the teacher the struggles of every student with the English language in their English subject, and it is focusing on the implementation of the mother tongue as a medium of instruction enabled to the teachers to be effective. Method: this seminar was only consumed one-day lecturing because it was just about the implementation of the changes of the mother tongue as the medium of instruction. The speaker discussed how the changes can help the student to learn more in this subject. Target audience would be a teacher and a school faculty as well as the principal.
The Department of Education should concentrate on developing alternative teaching methods that will benefit not only students' abilities and knowledge, but also teachers, because they will be the ones to execute learning in the classroom. They can conduct different trainings and seminars for the teachers in order for them to learn different techniques. Other than that, they can also persuade teachers to use technology into their classrooms so that the learners learn more effectively, and technology will give access to a wider range of information. However, it will not be possible without the government support by first establishing a program that will train the teachers in integrating technology in teaching, and financial assistance which allow them to purchase their own technological instruments as well as internet connection.
So let's proceed to the recommendation. Our problem here is making detailed lesson plan in order to cater diverse learning style and abilities of the learners. So the program we recommend here is the Effective Teaching Program. As we can see, educators are facing with an increasing diversity of learners in the classroom, and meeting diverse needs of each child can feel overwhelming. So the teacher requires assistance in designing lessons and implementing a variety of instructional strategies to ensure the success of all students. So the Teacher 21 program provides an overview of teaching, learning, and assessment to provide a solid foundation in the structures and strategies required to support today's diverse learners. So the goal of this program, we should create a supportive language for discussing student needs and instructional practices, as well as a solid foundation for teaching, learning, and assessment that is tailored to our students' readiness, interest, learning profiles, and language acquisition needs. Participants are expected to determine which content standard will be covered in upcoming instructional units, examine current research and revise assignment and assessment to reflect best practices for adapting materials and methods to meet the needs of the learners, as well as develop and review the effective assessment practices such as reviewing students' work and assessments.